Serious team, and they'll go into the bowl with plenty of ambition, I'm sure. As I say, if they get the home draw, they'll fear nobody.
Okay, all right. Well, this week Ireland lost a great leader, and the GA lost one of its true legends, one of my favourite sportsmen, I have to say, with the death of Dermot Earley.
Out now to Dermot Earley. Dermot Earley is shot at a goal! Oh, what a wonderful goal!
You are so glad you played the game and that you had the opportunity to get to where you did in the game and meet and contest and put your skill against anybody who was there in my time.
Dermot Earley trying to work his way into the scoring position. A nice one to Mickey Frame.
When he'd come and shake that hand and say, good to see you, you knew he meant it. He was one of those that had the unique ability to lift you above what you could dream of being for yourself.
When you were in Dermot Earley's company, you always knew you were in a sense of greatness, a man whose contribution to Irish life has been immense, particularly his peacekeeping role overseas for the Irish nation.
He had pride in everything Irish. He was proud of his position in the Irish Defence Forces at all stages. It was wonderful to see him Chief of Staff at the end, respected the world over.
I grew up learning about Gaelic football, particularly from the radio. Niall here bringing you the game as vividly as you could possibly imagine.
Dermot Earley to take it. Aye, and it's good. It's over the bar.
He was a great motivator, good leader, a great sportsman, a great ambassador for the game.
Very belatedly, the 1970s turned with a kindly look towards Roscommon, because they did win 4 Connacht titles, 3 of them in a row, in large part due to the inspiration of one of the great personalities of the 1970s, Dermot Earley.
Early, prominent in defence, midfield attack everywhere, giving that ball to Tony McMahon.
He was the leader. You looked up to him. He set the tone in the dressing room. He wasn't one of those guys who was roaring or shouting, but whatever he said with honesty, and he struck me as really an honest guy and a guy who led us on the field and off the field.
Dermot Earley with the point on the roar. He really deserved it. What an outstanding match Earley has played, and capped it all with a great point there.
That man Dermot Earley, who's been so long on the side, and this is really the first major honour, really an emotional moment for Dermot. And one of the great sportsmen of the game is Dermot, so this medal really couldn't go to a greater sportsman.
I have never heard anybody say a negative vibe about Dermot Earley.
By every standard, Dermot Earley was an exceptional man.
This is a very sad day for Roscommon football.
Well, Kevin, you knew Dermot Earley through your military career as well.
Yeah, he was just a fantastic guy. You know, it's so sad to think, you know, watching those pictures and listening to the interview, that we won't actually bump into him again, whether in Roscommon or at a football match, or of course through work in the Defence Forces. But Dermot was just a fantastic man, a fantastic human being. You know, led by example. He reached the highest rank in the Defence Forces, and he was just such a great fella to be around. You know, when he'd come to visit your barracks, he always came hoping to catch you doing good. You know, no gotchas with Dermot. It was always, you know, to support you, wanting you to make a difference in your job or in your life, or when you were playing football with them or against them or on teams. I played on a Railway Cup team that he managed, and he always wanted you to make a difference and give it your best shot, and don't look back and don't have any regrets. But it's awful sad for his family, for Mary and the children, to think that, you know, he's not going to come through the door again in the evening time. But he was a fantastic fella. He did everything. You know, I thought Ciarán McGeaney captured it brilliantly. Dermot Earley and the Earley family take representation, whether it's their family, whether it's their county, or in Dermot's and Dermot Jr.'s case, their country. They took it very serious, and there was a sense of honour about things that the standards were set. There was no mediocre with Dermot. That was the standard, and you met it. And of course, the difference between him and the rest of us is he consistently met those standards. And he's just a fantastic guy in terms of to have worked for him and to have known him. You know, incredible, really.
And Dara, you'd represent a younger generation. So growing up in Kerry, what did the name Dermot Earley mean?
Well, one of the things that actually struck me during the week, listening to the conversations after his death, was that the point was consistently made that he's the greatest footballer never to win an All-Ireland medal. Now, there was talks of that for a long stage down in Kerry about, let's say, Maurice Fitzgerald, who went through an awful lot of his career without winning, Peter Canavan above in Tyrone, and that fear was there, as if that would diminish them as sportsmen in some way. Like, that doesn't diminish the legacy of Dermot Earley in any way. I think the universal qualities that he brought to the GAA in terms of sportsmanship, lifting teammates was mentioned there in the piece, and above all, I suppose, the humility. It's, you know, that thing I think everybody in Ireland admires in their sportsman. He had it in abundance, and I guess Sláv Degra on him.
Like young Kevin, you used to watch Dermot Earley playing, obviously.
Yeah, and Dermot retired, and on the day, you know, many of us won our first Connacht medal, and you saw the photograph, that iconic photograph in many ways. He was a brilliant footballer. I played on army teams with him, and as I say, against him for Mayo and league matches and that championship match. You know, it just, I couldn't say enough about it. You know, this when you say you should never meet your heroes. Well, that wasn't written with Dermot Earley in mind, because you never met him, but that your day improved, or that he just made a real impression on you. It's, you know, it's very hard.
Okay, well said. Dara and Kevin, thank you very much for joining us this evening. The late great Dermot Earley. Between Galway and Offaly. It was a cracker. Commentary comes from Darren Frehel.